This is CNB Bazaar Buzz here on the NDTV network. I'm Siddharth Parthankar, and as always we kick off our program by first showing you what is coming your way over the next half hour. Land Rover turns 70 and it's a special celebration here in India and of course at its headquarters in the UK. A massive happening in the automobile world, Rolls-Royce debuts its very first SUV. And we have the review of the Audi RS5. Alright, so all of that is coming up. Plenty of excitement, but we'll start with the SUVs and stay in that space for the first segment because of course Land Rover, synonymous with SUVs, is celebrating a special anniversary. 70 years the brand has been around now, and it represents off-roading and also now luxury in many ways. And so a special tribute was of course a way to look back at those 70 years by going back to the very start, the very first product, and celebrating that, but alongside it one of the very latest products, and that was a special drive that was conducted in the eastern part of the country. Cyrus was there, and we also bring you up to speed on how the brand celebrated at its global headquarters.
World War II brought the world's automotive industry to its knees, with new car production coming to an absolute standstill. But what the world did realize is that it needed go-anywhere, four-wheel drive utility vehicles. The Willys Jeep had already proved itself in the theatre of war, and the British wanted something similar, and thus was born the original Land Rover. And this year, on the 30th of April, the legendary automotive marque turned 70. Prompting celebrations all over the world, especially in the United Kingdom. But it's not just the United Kingdom that's celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Land Rover brand, it's also India. Now yes, we have seen these cars, the modern ones, only very recently in India after the Tata takeover. The country actually has a long and very sort of colourful history with the Land Rover brand, and while in some parts of the country these are regarded as thoroughbred classics, in some other parts, like the one we're in right now, these are actually daily drivers. Now we're in a place called Maneybhanjang, which is in West Bengal. We're going to drive all the way to a place called Sandakphu in classic Land Rovers and then switch to the modern ones and drive back down. These things are actually still running on petrol, still with the original engines, still go up and down the valley all the time, every day, and still have so much love and care put into it by their owners. Now before we actually show you the drive though, let's take you through a quick history lesson. Now most of you will recognize the classic Land Rover to be that, in that shape, and that is of course correct. This is a Series 1. It's got these very iconic swooping fenders, the inset lights, the small little grille in the front, lovely driving light on this too. But there's a rarer one of this, generation. It's called the Lightweight, and this actually is one of the first times I have seen one out in the wild. I've seen one in a museum, but never seen one in the wild, and never seen one being used the way this is. Now these essentially were made so they could fit in the back of planes and be dropped out of aeroplanes and be used for the army. How these have made their way here, nobody really knows. They are the rarest Series 1 Land Rovers, definitely in these parts. About 2 exist here. My estimate of how many exist in the country, 6 or 7 at the most. And as you can see, the difference between that and this, different headlamps and different grille structure, different squared off fenders too. Pure practicality, and of course a narrow body as compared to the standard one. So little tidbit of history, little difference, and definitely a much rarer car than compared to a normal Series 1. Maneybhanjang to Sandakphu is a legendary trail for off-roaders in India. 30 kilometers long, but going from 6,600 feet to a smidge over 12,000 feet in just under 3 hours, the trail takes a toll on both man and machine. It is narrow, rocky, muddy and outright tricky in any car, let alone cars that are over 50 years old. Now the owner of this Series 1 Land Rover has given me the keys to his car for a few minutes. Let me have a bit of a unplugged experience of the car on the trail. Now I have driven a Series 1 before on the road, never driven it on a trail, and this, for somebody like me who loves classic cars, is pure bucket list stuff. It does shake. It does shake you around a little bit, and there are no safety features. There is no seat belt, of course. These cars never came with one. There is no crash protection, and the door is just right here. It's a metal door. Sliding window too. So in terms of purity of experience off-road, this is as pure as it gets without actually walking. They are very, very easy to drive though, surprisingly, considering the fact that they do look menacing and they do look difficult. They aren't. Everything is super direct. The steering is extremely light, and considering the fact that you've got those ridiculously good off-road tires on this, the narrow tread ones, and the fact that you've got a low-range gearbox, just makes this a walk in the park, a literal walk in the park for something like this. It is one of the greatest cars ever made. There is no question of a doubt there. And now I've driven one on a trail in India. This is the kind of stuff that automotive journalists do get to enjoy and make everybody jealous with. "45-degree climbs, countless hairpin switchbacks and rocks the size of large watermelons, the trail threw everything it could at us. But the Series 1 soldiered on and on. After all, these do go up and down these trails at least 3 to 4 times a day, often carrying upwards of 6 to 8 passengers or over 700 kilos of cargo." This is unbelievable. This is so much fun. I know you're being shaken behind there. Azam, thank you for bearing with me with this. But this is just unbelievably good fun. I don't remember the last time I had this much fun going this slow and having this big a smile on my face. And as we reached the top, it was time to take a break, swap cars and get into the new discovery. So we've reached the crest, over 12,500 feet. It's really cold, that's why I had my jacket on. But now we're going to go back down in relative comfort. I've got the heated seats on in the Discovery. I've got the temperature set just right at about 18.5 degrees. Perfect weather. And now I'm going to drive this back down the same trail that we drove back up earlier up in, with a whole bunch of electric gadgetry helping me drive too. So you've got a whole bunch of software, and of course the Discovery does pack a whole bunch of hardware too. Is it going to be easier? Is it going to be more difficult? Well, we'll find out. While the Series 1 might be more fun, the Disco certainly makes this trail a lot easier. The only thing you really have to worry about is its sheer size, especially when encountering oncoming traffic. But then, it does pack features like driver assist cameras, which help you go right till that edge. While the Series 1 and the Discovery might have an age gap of over half a century between them, their purposes are a little different and yet so similar. While the modern Land Rovers offer oodles of luxury, the older cars are as practical as scissors. But the one thing that they do really well is perform off-road.
So we'll stay with the SUVs, and this is now the king of all SUVs. Well, at least that's how I think it's going to be seen over the next few days, and I can tell you, I cannot wait to drive one of these. This is the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. It uses the company's brand new platform that debuted last year, the aluminium space frame that it likes to call architecture of luxury, and which means it shares a lot with the Phantom, but the Phantom remains the flagship. However, the Rolls-Royce brand goes into the SUV space and also goes off-road for the very first time. The much awaited and highly anticipated Rolls-Royce Cullinan is here. Time almost stands still when a new Rolls-Royce model is launched. A Rolls-Royce is so much more than simply being a car. And the all-new Cullinan SUV is a break from tradition and vitally important for the BMW Group company. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan is a high-bodied, all-terrain vehicle and not simply an SUV. The Cullinan is a big car and its looks embody Rolls-Royce style straight away. It has been launched in two configurations, 4 and 5-seater, and sits on Rolls-Royce's new architecture of luxury or aluminium space frame platform that's shared with the new generation Phantom. It also shares that car's drivetrain. One look at the Cullinan and straight away you know it's a Rolls-Royce. Unmistakable styling highlights include the large bonnet, muscular flanks, straight lines, upright face and customary PANTHEON grille.
Front block of Cullinan, it was very important that from the first read you read power, almost magnificence in terms of the capability that this vehicle will offer. Very, very sheer horizontal front bonnet and the bluff front nose, the way that the cowl projects forward is where the V12 is housed. Our mentality at the first gesture outing of the vehicle, let's say, so many years ago, was to almost imagine an Anglo-Saxon warrior with the bone structure. And maybe in the past there's a great uncle who fought at Culloden. These were the stories and the gestures that we were playing with.
The 22-inch wheels are beautifully finished and add to the big stance of the Cullinan. The rear gets coach doors that swing backwards. The rear seats are placed higher than the front to afford the passengers pavilion seating with better views of the environment around. And yes, there is a large panoramic glass roof too. Rolls-Royce is calling this the world's first 3-box SUV, in that the cargo area is separated from the passenger cabin. Visually too, the rear seems to bulge outwards like a more traditional boot, while the roofline stays typically full-size SUV. Rolls-Royce is calling its first ever opening tailgate the Clasp, a split tailgate which opens and closes in its two sections automatically at the touch of a button. And yes, there's a little surprise back there in the boot. Seating for two if you want to just enjoy the countryside or maybe take a break on a picnic. The cabin is packed with technology and you now get touch screens front and back with every feature you can imagine. Speaking of technology, the Cullinan also has night vision, pedestrian and wildlife alert, an alertness assistant, 4 cameras with panoramic views, active cruise control, a Wi-Fi hotspot and a head-up display. For extra safety, there are also collision, cross-traffic and lane departure warnings. The cabin itself is luxury personified with miles of luxurious leather, bespoke fabrics and carpets, power seats with massage, connectivity and navigation, and plenty of metal used to enhance the appeal of the leather dash and other surfaces. And as we said, there are 4 or 5-seat configurations possible. The Cullinan features Rolls-Royce's massive 6.75-litre V12 with 563 bhp and a huge 850 Nm of peak torque. And this is an all-wheel drive car with 4-wheel steering too. The car has only one single off-road or everywhere mode, which can be further customized for rough track, gravel, wet grass, mud, snow or sand. Wading depth for the car is 540 mm and the car has a self-leveling air suspension that helps maintain the must-have magic carpet ride that Rolls-Royce cars boast. The Cullinan also aims to offer the same by adding larger air struts to the Phantom's air suspension. The larger volume of air helps dull any impact from uneven road or off-road surfaces and works in conjunction with the all-wheel capability to offer very smooth ride comfort.
The reason behind adding Cullinan to our range is very much customer driven. You need to understand that our segment, the ultra high net worth individuals, are getting younger and younger, and they are also catering for a complete different lifestyle. More relaxed, more easygoing, more casual, more outdoor, using cars for all kind of purposes. And that of course is a big driver while SUVs in general are more and more popular, and also that we see now that SUV movement moving also into the high-end luxury market. Cullinan is highly important for our customer base worldwide, as they are changing quite considerably when it comes to age, use patterns and so on. And for that reason we took our time, and I think we did a brilliant job finally in a way of mixing up what Rolls-Royce is famous about, and that is magic carpet ride, and combining that with all-terrain capabilities unseen before for the brand Rolls-Royce. And that in conjunction delivers a customer proposition which is truly unique in the world. And I call Cullinan the Rolls-Royce of SUVs.
The Rolls-Royce Cullinan will definitely make it to India, although that will only likely happen in 2019. With this new model line, Rolls-Royce will expect to expand not only its volumes, but also its customer profile and base worldwide. The car is seen as having maximum potential in key SUV-friendly markets. While the US, China and UK get most of that attention, India also features on that list. Commercial break time. We come back with answers to your questions and of course that very hot and very powerful Audi RS5. Keep watching. Now Audi launched what it calls the BratPack, that's the A5 family, in India a few months ago, and it's been quite celebrated because the new generation A5 really brings a lot in terms of styling and driving dynamic. The car is sexy, it's fun to drive, and then when you throw in the powerful RS treatment, well, then it just goes to a whole new level. The RS5 was also recently launched in India, and Ameya has been lucky to get his hands on one of them.
We've already driven the A5, S5 and even the A5 Cabriolet, and just when you thought that the BratPack could not expand any further in India, Audi has brought in a new one just to tell us how wrong we were about the earlier cars. I might have jumped the gun a bit when I called the A5 Cabriolet one of the prettiest looking A5s out there. Well, that's before I laid my eyes on this. Look at it, it's the RS5 Coupe. Yes, it's back in the second generation and it's back in India, and it looks simply stunning. Now this is a third body style that the A5 has got. We had the Sportback, we had the Cabriolet, and now there's the Coupe. It's beautiful, it looks good, it looks extremely aggressive, and that is solely because of the headlamps that have been carried forward, but the treatment that it has got, the black treatment that it has got, and also these lovely looking 20-inch alloy wheels. Now these are optional, the standard is 19-inch. So enough talk, and let's get back into the driver's seat of this one, because that's what this car is all about. But of course you want to know how this one drives, because well, that's the point of buying one of these, right? The cabin is similar to what we've seen on the S5, so there's hardly any difference there. You have the virtual cockpit, you have smartphone interface as well. What is different though is what is under the hood. It's a 2.9 litre V6. Power is 444 brake horsepower and 600 Newton meters of torque on offer, from even lower than 2000 RPM, somewhere around 1900, which makes it fun to drive. And yes, you have a lot of power at your disposal at a very low RPM, and that is why you enjoy driving it the way you want to. Outside it oozes aggression, inside too is similar. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is done in just under 4 seconds, and well, you can see how seamlessly that new torque converter gearbox actually helps in providing power to all four wheels. Yes, the quattro all-wheel drive is also standard on this car. What is important to note though is that you might face a bit of an issue as far as speed cameras are concerned, so you have to be very careful. Even if you're lighter on the lighter on your foot, the speed at which this one travels might take you by surprise. So I might be doing about 115 in 7th gear, and I wouldn't even know.
Here's the dangerous thing about the RS5. If you have it in comfort mode and are just bumbling along casually, you could easily be doing double the speed limit without even realizing. It is so civilized and refined, building up speed so unassumingly that it might not occur to you until you look down at the speedometer. And you have to be careful considering that the number of speed cameras installed in and even outside the city are increasing day by day. Switch to dynamic mode and things become far more urgent. You don't mind flicking it through the gears via the pedals either, because the gearbox is just so quick and responsive. There's no adaptive suspension, which could have made a good differentiator for this top dog variant. On a bumpy road, the low profile tires could make things a little, well, bumpy, but we're sure choosing the standard 19-inch wheels could sort all that out. Inside, things are far less dramatic, and it's all but identical to any of the other A5s or even the A4. Sure, you get a flat bottom steering wheel and a racier layout for the virtual cockpit dials, but you do get that in the S5 Sportback too. What is new are the front seats. They are thicker and better bolstered than the S5. They also offer every possible adjustment and even a massage function. Thanks to the chunky front seats, there's almost no legroom on offer at the rear. However, a child or two at the back is no problem. Quality is all but flawless everywhere, and there are no complaints on that front. And you also get features like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, as also Bluetooth, auxiliary input and navigation. At 1 crore 10 lakh rupees, the RS5 undercuts its two main rivals, the BMW M4 and the Mercedes AMG C63S, by about 20 to 30 lakh rupees, which is a big gap. The RS5 feels just as quick as its rivals, if not quicker. It also has incredible usability thanks to a powertrain that's very docile when you want it to be, and ride comfort that's more luxury than sport. It is just one of those cars you can take to the track, throw it around, and then transform into a classy coupe that takes you back to work.
A very hot, very powerful new Audi, and I hope you liked that story and everything else we showed you today. Special anniversary for Land Rover and a huge, very special debut for Rolls-Royce. Please react to all of that and continue to watch the NDTV network for all the regular news updates. But remember, we'll be back next week with all the updates from the automobile world as well. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Please wear your seatbelts, wear your helmets if you are on a bike.